AI SEO tools and some new SEO tools using Perplexity. Now, today, what you're going to learn is the SEO web. Book in a free SEO strategy session. Link is in the comments and description. So we're going to get straight into this, and I will share my screen and we'll go through it. So the first thing that I want to show you is Perplexity's SEO traffic, because it's gone absolutely to the moon. You can see since the Google Core update was released, previously they were at 2.6 million traffic. Now that has increased. So it was previously at 2.612. Now that's grown to 2.642. You can see over the 6 months, the last 6 months, it's increased from 1.97 traffic to 2.642 traffic. And if we look over the last year, you can see that their traffic has increased from 683,000 all the way to 2.6 million SEO traffic. So pretty crazy stuff if you ask me. And the first tool that I'm going to kick this off with is an automation using Google Sheets. So I've never really seen anyone else do this before, and it's really hard to find. But basically, you can your API key from Perplexity directly to Google Sheets. Change my microphone there because for some reason the other one seems to get off. But you can see here, for example, what we've got here is an automation with a spreadsheet that has connected my API key directly from Perplexity into Google Sheets. And like I say, I've not really seen many people do this. Nobody really talks about it. You can do it for a Make, but it's very hard. And basically what you can see is that we've created a one-click SEO tool. Now, the reason that you might want to connect this from, say, Perplexity to Google Sheets instead of, say, Claude is that Claude actually doesn't scrape live URLs, whereas Perplexity can, right? So, for example, if I ask Perplexity, what is this website about me? And it's juliangoldie.co.uk. It's going to say, this is a website about Julian Goldie, SEO expert who provides SEO services, link building, digital marketing solutions, right? And so it can actually figure out what the URL is about just from the URL. Gold says, made it, good to see you here. Neil says, more gold mining live here. And Frank says, bloody early, my friend, which is true. It depends where you are, but yeah. And Victor just says Goldie, so shout out to that. So what you can see is you can basically put your prompts in the left-hand side of this column, and then you can connect your API directly to the Google Sheet. And then from there, you can set up the output, right? So you can say, right, do this, and then it will do that, right? And then it will generate, for example, a topical map. As you can see, I've also done this, for example, with a live URL. So you can actually plug in your competitors' URLs, or you can plug in other URLs that you want to scrape. So you can see, for example, in the prompt section in column A, we have the actual website URL. So that could be my competitors if I wanted to. And then I ask it, like, just summarize this page, because I want to make sure that it actually understands what's live on the page. So I said, summarize this page. It says Julian Goldie recommends Indexceptional. It's the best rapid website indexer to improve online presence. And then if we look at this actual output right here, you can see that it creates a content outline with one single prompt using Perplexity. And so with this whole setup right here, you can basically automate anything you want directly in Google Sheets on live URLs, which I've not seen anyone else do, right? No one else talks about, for example, scraping live URLs for SEO. No one talks about using live content. And the thing is, if you've got a news website or you're relying on live updates, and Perplexity is a much more superior tool versus other tools like Claude or ChatGPT that will be offline when you use the API. So pretty crazy stuff right there. We've got a couple of questions in, and All Types Edpin says, hey, Julian, thanks for this. So yeah, that is the first tool that I wanted to show you, and you can just plug in anything, right? You can plug in, for example, content props. Now, the way that this works, and I want to show you the SOP right here. The way that this works is that you can see, for example, you would just sign up to Perplexity. So you're going to sign up to Perplexity, grab the API key from Perplexity, then you're going to use this template right here. So you just make a copy, you make sure you have the app script still installed, and then from here, you just plug in your Perplexity API key. If you want to as well, you can plug in your ChatGPT API key right here. So for example, you can say equals ChatGPT and it will use GPT, or you can use equals GPT-4 and that will also call the function directly from the API key with ChatGPT. But for me personally, I want to use the Perplexity API key, so I would recommend just using that instead. Why? Because it can scrape live URLs, and that is extremely powerful when it comes to SEO. So this is pretty crazy right here. Goal says if this replaces pasting the sitemap method, it's amazing. My competitor sitemap is huge, so it freezes the other sheet with the Gemini SOP. I haven't tested that, but it could be interesting to check. Akram says, can this method help with internal linking? Yeah, so I think you could just plug in an internal linking prompt, which I've got loads of those inside my free course, link in the comments and description, and then you could use some of the prompts for internal linking inside a spreadsheet like this. This is going to be a relatively short live, so I don't really have time to share it right now, but I might do in the future. If you want to get access to the SOP that I'm showing you right now, I will put it inside the chat. And if you're watching the replay, just go to my free course and I'll show you how to get it at the end. But yeah, you can see right here, you can just plug in your API key from Perplexity using this SOP right here. And then from there, you're good to go, my friends. So that's basically how it goes. Now, I just want to say a quick credit to this video right here. This is how I got the integration for Perplexity. Couldn't find it anywhere. Perplexity couldn't create it, so I just had to take that spreadsheet and then adapt it. It was originally for sales. I turned it into an SEO masterpiece, as you can see right here. And so any prompts you can plug into column A. In column B, you can plug in the outputs. And if it's like a two-step prompt, for example, like a topical map or a content outline, then you can have output 2 in column C. And yeah, it's just a beautiful way of automating stuff, as you can see right here. And Claude says, Frank says, can you use Perplexity to scrape and Claude to write? So I'll come on to that next, actually. If you want to see how to do that, I would recommend using make.com for that. Now, you could have everything inside one sheet, to be fair. So you could have everything in one sheet, and then you call Claude and you call Perplexity. I haven't tested that out, so I'm not going to recommend it on a live stream. But you can see, for example, I've got Claude for Sheets installed as an extension inside my extensions right here. So it is a free extension. Then you just plug in your API key, and then you could probably, you could call Perplexity in this column right here. So you could use Perplexity using equals PPLX and then the prompt. And then inside output 2, you could just call Claude to write the content. So yeah, I guess you could. That would make sense. Finn Fiverr says, thanks, Happy Del. So as promised, that is the one-click SEO weapon that you didn't know existed. Now, one of the other things that I want to show you with this quickly before we move on is how you can rank with this method, right? So for example, if we type a keyword into Google, let's have a look right here. Actually, I'm going to show you something else in a minute that's pretty crazy as well. And I'm absolutely loving it so far. The first thing I want to say, though, before we get into that, is that you can actually rank #1 with fact checking from Perplexity. So you can see how the content that's ranking #1 on my LinkedIn article here, it was generated with Perplexity and a Copper API workflow. Now, if you're wondering how to do that, let me show you here. And you can put this into the spreadsheet if you want to, but essentially, step #1 is getting the knowledge from Perplexity. Why would you use Perplexity? Because it is a fact-based tool, right? And so you would use a prompt like this. So for example, if I'm creating this article that's already ranking, and I know it works, so I'm not showing you anything that doesn't work. But inside this spreadsheet, I would say, we're creating an article about the best SEO speakers. Give us a list of the best SEO speakers, including whoever you want, right? You just customize this to whatever article you're making right here. And from there, you can get the knowledge from Perplexity inside this spreadsheet right here by using the prompts and the equals PPLX formula, which you can see over there, my friends, right? And so it's really, really powerful. Goal says, is Perplexity's API key free? It is not, because it's probably one of the best API keys out there, honestly, for creating content. I know like Copper, for example, already have an integration for this. But what you can do is I think it's just like $10 a month or something like this. Like if you want to see my API settings, let's see if we can pull them up right here. And I'll show you an example of how much this is costing. Maybe I can't pull it up because it's going to show my API key actually, but I can tell you now it's cost me about less than $1 to generate all this stuff as an example. And I've been playing around with it all day, right? So if you're liking this, smash a like on it, because I've already given you the free tool as I promised, and I think you're liking it right now. And Stephen Canner, the self-proclaimed best stripper in SEO, says, I'm sure Julian would think of me as a stalker now. I'm always around his workshop like a bad smell. Good to see you in there, Stephen. Appreciate that, mate. Nothing wrong with stalking, if you're stalking me, mate. If you're stalking my videos, that's totally fine with me. So what you can see here is we've got the use case of Google Sheets, as you can see. So that's one of the best methods you can use. As we keep going through, here's the next tool. And this is Perplexity, as you can see right here, but collections, right? Now, collections are very powerful for creating one-click tools as well with Perplexity AI SEO, because you can pre-program it with a prompt that is customized to your business, and then just rinse and repeat that every time you need to do a certain action, right? And so this is one of the best ways to quickly automate a Perplexity AI SEO tool just for one particular thing, right? For example, keyword creation, or for example, content creation, or fact checking, or something like this. Now, Martin at the same time says, which LLM should we use for blog content creation as the LLMs move so quickly? So here's my favorite workflow right here. So you can do this all inside Perplexity. And what we can do is we can, step number one, get the knowledge from Perplexity. How do we do that? So we're going to use this example, and I'm going to plug this prompt into Perplexity. It's inside the SOP, which you've all got access to. And I'm just going to use this prompt, as you can see right here, to gather knowledge and research for the article that I'm creating, right? I'm going to hit enter like so, and that's just going to find the relevant stuff for me. You can see it even pulls up a picture of me when we create this prompt right here on the top SEO speakers, and it recommends me as one of the top SEO speakers as well, right? Now, with this knowledge, you're going to then move on to step number two. But before you do that, you want to do something else that's quite interesting. So we're going to go back into the settings over here, and then we're going to scroll down, and you're going to switch your AI model to Claude 3.5 Sonnet, right? Claude 3.5 Sonnet is the best API that I've seen for creating content. I know, for example, like Income Stream Surfers, another popular YouTube channel, inside his tool Harbor, he will use Claude's API because it's probably the best for content creation, right? If you ask me. And I think Copper as well just recently implemented it. So from here, what we can do is we can take this knowledge right here, which is fact checked, as you can see. So for example, this is very specific to my industry and me. I'm going to take that knowledge, we're going to go into a new thread, and using Claude 3.5 Sonnet, I'm going to now say keyword equals best SEO speakers, write an SEO article. We're going to take this particular prompt, and then we're going to say knowledge below, prioritize the knowledge instead of the data you've been trained on. Do not use any data you haven't been trained on. I'm going to switch to Pro right here, hit enter, and now that's going to create the article for me based on the knowledge and the facts that we have gathered so far. If it doesn't break live on a live stream. Jason says, hey, Julian, A to you too. And I'm just going to go back here because for some reason, Perplexity is broken on me. So I'm going to get back into the game. We're going to take that knowledge from before. Let's see if it loads. Doesn't seem to want to load. So I'm just going to go back into Perplexity and we'll retry that prompt right there because I think live on a live stream, typically, it's going to break. So we're going to go back into this. We're going to say we'll create an article, best speakers, blah, blah, blah. We've already talked about that. We'll hit enter. And from here, we should be good to go. Now, if probe mode is not working, let's see what we got here. If you've got any questions as we go along, feel free to ask. There we go. Now it's working. So now we're going to switch to Claude. And we will take the knowledge from before. The other thing I would say is like write with source context, right? So if you personalize it to your brand, to your website, etc., that's always going to help when it comes to SEO. So using the knowledge you've gathered, now create an article, and we'll ask it to generate the content, as you can see right here. Jason says, I'm just lagging. Can you explain the topic? Yeah, so Martin was asking about which LLM should we use for blog content creation, and I'm showing this Perplexity AI SEO workflow, as you can see right here. So it's generated the content, it's written it first person, it's customized it to me, it's put me at the top of the list, as you can see right here, and it's written it as me as well, using the knowledge that we gathered previously, right? So it's put Julian Goldie, the link builder maestro. Yeah, I'm putting myself first on the list. I've been building links for over 6 years and growing my agency to 70 members, blah, blah, blah. spoken at. To be honest, some of this is still not factually correct, so you definitely want to check it, but that's why I always recommend the old SEO checklist inside the quality control process of my business, of my free courses you can see right here, but you get the impression. That's my favorite method. Now, you can see in the way that the content's written, it actually reads really nicely, and that's basically how it goes. Akram says, your hairline changed a lot. Much better now. I appreciate that. Someone was asking me how it's going today, so I appreciate you saying it's good. It's only been, I think it's been about 6 months since I got the operation for the hair transplant. And so that is a method for generating content. So I just want to recap, right? We've talked about the Google Sheets one-click AI SEO tool with Perplexity right here, and how to use it, and how to gather the template, and how to insert the API key. From there, I've also shown you proof of our content ranking, for example, like this article, which ranks #1 on Google for best SEO speakers, which is pretty nice, as you can see right here. And then the other thing that I want to show you next is how to use make.com, right? So make.com is a really powerful way to connect different apps together if you're not familiar with it already. And so what you can see here with this particular workflow is that we can, again, gather our competitor URLs in a spreadsheet like you can see. Then we can use this prompt right here to gather some knowledge based on live data and based on analyzing the live URL. So it says, using this URL, create a content outline from SEO article targeting the same keyword. Give me the relevant keyword from the same page. Give me semantically relevant keywords, endless sites and entities. Include the top 10 semantically relevant headings and subheadings, and also include some relevant FAQs, commonly asked questions, etc. Right? And so you're gathering your competitor's URL, you're gathering the knowledge on that live URL using the API key from Perplexity. Now, the problem is Perplexity, with the API, you can only get access to Llama, right? So it doesn't give you the API key for Claude. And so what we're going to do from the Perplexity automation is route that information to a Claude automation, as you can see right here. So it basically goes, here's a competitor URL, here's Perplexity, then we're going to route that information, we're going to send it over to Claude. Claude is going to create an introduction, a content creation, it's going to create a slogan, a title, and then we're going to send that to WordPress as a draft, right? So we're not going to publish it, we're just going to create it as a draft. And so with this step-by-step process, we can easily automate between Perplexity and Claude, as I was showing you before, to analyze our competitors and figure out, okay, how do we rank and what sort of content do we need to create? So it's pretty nice right here, and it's really easy. Sidebar, I was going to make a joke about Turkish hair transplant, but did you really? I'm bored. I'll take your advice on anything at this point. So I appreciate your trust. Yeah, so I got a hair transplant back in February in Thailand, it was. And that was based on a recommendation from 2 of my friends who had actually been there. Probably one of the best decisions I made this year, honestly. It was like 8 hours on a hospital bed. You know, they operate on your head and give you a nice little big injection and that sort of thing. But after that, you're good to go. Went home, recovered within 2 weeks, and yeah, hair's grown since. Happy days. Neil says automate the automations. That's what we're talking about. And Goal says, how much approximately do you spend per article with that workflow? So it depends which workflow you're talking about, right? So if we go back for Google Sheets, I think today I've spent about 10 cents on that automation, the template that I was showing you earlier. For the collections is actually free. I think you just use Perplexity Pro, which is like $10 a month, so it's really cheap. And then for the make.com automation, it's literally, I want to say it's so cheap because Claude is ridiculously cheap when it comes to API credits. So I would say maybe maximum, absolute maximum is going to be is like 10 cents an article, but I would say it's probably even less than that using this API, right? And make.com is free as well. So you're not paying for credits on that. You're just paying for credits on Claude, and then Perplexity's API credits not going to be very expensive at all, right? And so just to recap, we've covered 3 different one-click AI SEO tools that you can use to rank based on what's working for me and based on proven case studies that I've shown you today. The first one is Google Sheets, I've given you the template. The second one is collections. I've shared a free tool here as an example. And by the way, if you're not sure how to create collections on Perplexity, what you can do is if you go to library over here, then you're going to go to collection, and then from here, you just plug in whatever you want, right? So for example, content creation could be something like that. We can insert maybe a keyboard as the emoji. Then we're going to give it the prompt. So we can just give it that prompt from earlier that we used. Let me find that one. Here we go. And then I can customize the content creation based on my favorite prompt, right? So I can say, ask me for the keyword, then write an SEO article for my keyword, right? Write as me, don't write to me, first person, blah, blah, blah. Then we can actually tailor it to my website. So we could say source context, write it as Julian Goldie for Julian Goldie's blog and juliangoldie.co.uk. Then we'll create that bad boy and we'll make it shareable, as you can see. And now we have a content creation tool, hopefully. So if we go back to library, go back to collections, content creation, and now we have the one-click content creation tool. And if I say create an article for me, as you can see right here, it will say, certainly happy to create an article for you to get you started. Could you please provide me with the keyword? So if we give it a keyword, for example, I don't know, like auto blogging AI review, it should start creating the content. Let's see what happens next. Yeah. So you can see it said, as someone who's been in the content creation game for years, I've got to say auto blogging AI is a game changer, blah, blah, blah. Creates the content, formats it nicely, writes the whole article, and that was just based on the prompt that I gave it previously. Now, whenever you create content, like I always say, checklist it, quality control it, make sure it's not spam. How do you do that? You can use this checklist right here, which I will put inside the spreadsheet. But yeah, that's basically how it goes step by step. So let me find the collections, and what I'll add is number one, the free SEO checklist, and number two, let's find the content creation tool right here. I'll grab the shareable link, as you can see, and then we can plug that into our use case of collections, content creation tool. There we go. Happy days. Shareable right now. And Jason says, are the SEO boardroom live calls Zoom? So the SEO boardroom calls are like live calls between the group, and they're just arranged for like anyone to show up. Now, if you want like coaching calls directly with me, just join the SEO Elite Circle. That is where I do the calls live weekly. And that also comes with a community, it comes with a classroom, lots of courses, it comes with a calendar of live calls. And also like you can DM me anytime. So you can see I've got a DM waiting for me right there. Usually I get back to people within a few hours of the messaging me. So pretty nice SEO Elite Circle community. Links in the comments and description if you want to get that. So as promised, I've shown you 3 different one-click AI SEO tools. And by the way, if you want to get access to all of these, you can just get it from the SFP. For example, the make automation right there, you can grab the JSON template from this link, download it, and then you can import it directly into make.com. So you can just import the blueprint right there. If you click on the import blueprint, and you're good to go. So that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if I missed out anything else. I've shown you the prompt for ranking right here. And then there was a few other things that I wanted to show you right now that I think, you know, you should be aware of when it comes to SEO, right? So number one, Apple Intelligence isn't available yet, right? And Search GPT isn't available yet. But we all know that the way SEO is going is going to be about ranking within AI, within the actual AI models. And so one of the other things you can do is just try and figure out, okay, what's ranking within Perplexity, okay? Because if you try and understand that now, you'll be way ahead of most SEOs, and you can try and figure out, okay, how does AI organize information? How does it figure out who should rank first? And then how can I make sure that I can rank there as well? And if you do that, you've got a much better chance of being prepared for the changes that are going to come out, because Search GPT is going to get released, Apple Intelligence is going to get released, and I can almost guarantee you by the end of the year, the whole game would have changed with SEO, right? People will still search, but the way that people search will totally change. As an example of that, if you look at Google AI overviews, you can see in this article by Search Engine Journal, YouTube and LinkedIn are the 2 top most recommended sites within AI right now, right? Whereas Reddit is actually down in terms of rankings. And so I would use Perplexity to figure out, okay, where are we going and what's the next trend? The other thing that I would say is if you compare Perplexity versus, and this is why I really like Perplexity for research, if you compare Google versus Perplexity, and we'll do 2 different searches right here. So we'll put who is Julian Goldie into Perplexity, as you can see, and then we'll do the same inside Google. And if you compare both, you can see that Perplexity gives me a much shorter, but much more interesting overview of me, right? And I would say the search results are actually better for me personally if I'm doing research. So you can see it summarizes exactly who I am. It talks about my job history. It says exactly who I am, what my job title is. It links to relevant profiles to me in the most relevant order. And if you compare that versus what comes up on Google, I would say that honestly, the information is better organized and more useful, particularly for research when it comes to that, right? And so if you're doing research, I would honestly recommend using Perplexity, not Google, from what I've seen so far. The other thing that I would say is if you look at the FAQs, this is really good for writing content because it comes up with relevant FAQs you can answer inside your content to make it more in-depth, to make it more comprehensive, and to make it more well-researched. Now, when it comes to research, it's very useful, but also as a search engine, I would say Perplexity is one of the best tools, right? Now, you can actually change your default search engine inside Chrome to Perplexity, and this is something that I've just done recently, right? So, for example, if I go onto my search bar inside Chrome, it's not going to search from Google. It's going to search directly inside Perplexity because that tends to help me better. Why? Because it gives me better answers. It organizes the information better. I don't have to sift through loads of ads, etc. And so if you want to change your settings for that, what you can do, and I've included a link, a copy and pastable search query inside the SEO, so you can see that query right there. You would go to your settings inside Google Chrome, and then you can change your settings right here. And you can set Perplexity as the default search engine when you search on Google. Now, if you want to change that, you can click on Manage Search Engines Site Search, and you can add any site searches that you want to, right? So you could add Gemini, for example, or you could add Google Drive. But for me personally, I think Perplexity is one of the best search engines as an SEO, as someone who's running a business, right? Neil says, need to study this video a couple of times. Amazing stuff as usual. Happy to help. Thank you very much. And that is my other use case. Now, quick note here, if you want to get everything that I'm talking about personalized to you, your business, your situation, if you want to learn how I'm ranking the best strategies from me, feel free to book in a free SEO strategy session. That is available, links in the comments description. Otherwise, just go to juliangoldie.co.uk and book it in there. Now, as we keep going, I want to show you a couple more things. So one of the other things I want to show you is how you can update articles based on Perplexity. So because Perplexity is linked to the internet, because it can scrape content live, it can search live, etc. What you can actually do is you can say to Perplexity update, and then you insert your article URL with the latest information on whatever topic you're trying to create content around for SEO purposes, right? And the unique thing about Perplexity versus, say, Claude or versus, say, ChatGPT is that typically Perplexity is number one, more fact-based, and number two, it comes up with more current information, kind of like how Grok can, right? And so what you can do is you can take a prompt like this one, update, say, my page on the Google Core Update with the latest information on the Google August Core Update for SEO purposes, right? And we'll change that to 2024. And so using that prompt, we can update our articles that are more topical and relevant. So if you have a news website, or if you're talking about trending topics, that sort of thing, you can use this process right here to create updated information for your article. So let's give that a go. I'm going to try and switch to pro mode. Let's see what happens. Maybe it'll break again, but we'll see how it goes. And you can see inside the pro search, it actually does a lot more filtering. So it talks through where it's filtering the information from, where it's finding it from, etc. And then it comes up with a bunch of ideas right here. So it says announced on 15th August. This update is set to shake up the landscape, etc. Here's what has changed. What does this mean? And, if you've got an older article, let's say I had an article about Grok AI SEO, then I could use this to update it when, say, Grok 3 or Grok 4 comes out. And so you can find updated information for your content using this process. And so just as a quick recap on everything, just before we finalize everything we've talked about today. And I'll put this into my free course in case anyone wants to check that out. But you can see that basically what we've done today is we've run through the Google Sheet and how you can basically automate anything related to SEO or even just business in general by plugging in your API key and then generating live stuff, as you can see right here. The next method is you can create collections, as you can see right here. So you can create collections around free keyword tools or content creation, etc. There's a whole different method on that. And the final use case is that you can link make.com to Perplexity, then Claude, and then create content on your website using that automation, and just fact check it with the SEO quality control checklist before you publish that content. Now, the other things that I've shown you today are how to gather knowledge, and then you can get that from Perplexity, plug it through Claude, and you're good to go. You can also look at what's ranking to understand future insights into how SEO is going to change. Additionally, you can use it for research, as I've shown you, and you can change your main search engine to Perplexity, which is super useful because it gives you, number one, very organized data, and number two, is very succinct. And then finally, you can use it for content updates, as you can see right here. So for anyone watching the replay, what I'm going to do is I will plug this free SOP, as you can see right here. And I'm going to take that and plug it into, I'm just going to create a new section called Perplexity. So we'll plug that into the Perplexity AI SEO section of my free SEO course. Links in the comments and description. We'll put that live, as you can see right here. And then we will add a new lesson called one-click tools. We'll hit save on that bad boy, and we will include the SOP directly in there. But if you're live on the chat, you can just scroll up the chat and you'll find the link right there. So that's basically how it goes. Now, if you've got any questions before we go, feel free to ask. I know we've got one from Ink Hype Tattoo who says, hey, how are you, boss? I have a question. Why Rank Math asked me to have the focus keyword on the URL slug, but when I ask AI to give me a site structure, including URL slugs, but never include the focus keyword? I would say, personally, for me, like, normally I don't ask AI to generate the slugs for me because it's just literally the keyword, right? And so you don't need to worry about that. You can just take the keyword from whatever page you're creating content around and then plug that into the slug. And I would say that's much faster and more efficient than using AI to generate it, because otherwise AI can get a little bit confused when it comes to that stuff. And before we go, the other final thing that I want to say is if you want to get a free one-to-one SEO strategy session about how to get more leads, traffic, and sales with SEO, we'll show you how we take websites from 0 to 145,000 visitors a month and generate thousands of dollars in sales on autopilot based on what's working for me. I've shown you multiple cases of us ranking today, show you new case studies every single day. Like, this stuff works. It works very, very well if you have the right strategies. And if you want to get a free SEO domination plan, discover the secrets of link building, we'll answer any questions you have. You'll learn the best link building strategies for your website and how to outrank your competitors with link building. Feel free to book that link building acceleration session. Links in the comments and description. Appreciate everyone watching. Ink Hype says, thanks very much. Happy to help. And like I said, make sure you get that free SEO strategy session. Normally, you pay like $1,000 to $2,000 per hour for something like this. You can get this for free. And if you enjoyed this video, please smash a like on it just so that we can help more people. Johnny says hello. Hello to you too. And Gold says, thanks, legend. Happy to help as always. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.